Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. Easily the best VPN for storing all of your important details safely online. I'm delighted to be joined by Record Sports Keith Jackson and Scott McDermott. Keith, was that a good intro? Does that meet your standard?
Wonderful, Dan. Wonderful.
Thank
Does it keep it safe even in the event of World War III?
Even in World War III, NordVPN is you probably prevent World War III, if I'm honest.
That's really put my mind at rest, Dan. Thanks.
Excellent. Scott, how's it going?
I'm good. At least you mixed it up there, Daniel. I quite like that. You went for a different line tonight. That was good.
Nice one. People were saying I was getting a wee bit robotic, so
a wee bit predictable. Aye.
For the best VPN in the world, they deserve better,
I was saying, Scott, have you ever seen the advert for all clear travel insurance? No. Well, I was saying the other day, I will never ever buy all clear travel insurance just because of the advert. And Dan was starting to get a little bit like that, so it's good that he's mixing it up.
Aye. There you go. Obviously, plenty for us to talk about tonight. Massive game yesterday, huge weekend of action. I wanted to start on a lighter note though, guys. Youssef Chermitit's goal yesterday, is it the best Old Firm goal of all time? We've just been talking off air. There's definitely some contenders, but for me, and I'll stick my neck out there, I think it's pretty much as good as any. It was such a clean hit.
And now you're getting involved in recency bias.
I think so.
Aye.
By the way, having said that, it is a sensational piece of skill, and it's obviously we were talking about it, very, very similar to McTominay's goal for Scotland, but possibly a cleaner connection and a harder hit. Mm-hmm. Because if you look, Sinisalo actually dives as the ball is hitting the back of his net. That's how fast that thing was moving. So it was an incredible piece of skill, and it's certainly up there. Listen, I'm sure we'll talk about great moments, magical goals that have been scored in this particular derby. But yeah, for the time being, and because of your recency bias, Dan, it would certainly it's going to be up there, isn't it? I don't think there's any argument about it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Larson's chip, Mendes, Maloney, Alberts. There's some amazing goals. But that was pretty good.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people debating social media and that today, and a few of the ones you mentioned there, they were talking about them. Lambert's one, Mendes, Bert Conterman, even at Hampden in a semi-final. All brilliant goals, obviously, but without taking anything away from them, they're long-range shots. I mean, they're brilliant hits. They've got a free kicks in there as well, Alberts, Barry Ferguson and that. Great goals, but I think purely for technique. When you think of Chermiti's one, I think of Larson chip in the 6-2 game. I think for pure skill and technique, those two would probably be right up there for me, among the very best. I mean, Jacko mentioned showing his age, obviously, talking about Davy Coopers and the driver. And obviously we don't remember that, Dan. But no, I mean that's an unbelievable.
Listen, I don't even remember that hard. But and what the frustrating thing about that one was, it's dead grainy. The sort of because
it's only one angle you get for it, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Drybrough Cup. I mean, this is why I'm not that old. I can't. I've got no recollection of the Drybrough Cup, and I don't know how seriously it was taken. But it was at Hampden, and it was a brilliant bit of skill by Cooper. But the Larson one's an iconic Old Firm goal, isn't it? And the skill and the level of skill involved in that dink was out of this world.
The other thing, Jacko, and maybe it shouldn't matter, but a lot of those goals, they really meant something. And they won games. You think of Conterman's winner at Hampden, think of Larson's as part of a 6-2, a 6-2 win. Alberts had a couple like that as well. Barry Ferguson free kick, Scottish Cup final, vital goals and famous wins. If Rangers had won the game on Sunday, maybe would have just elevated Chermiti's even a wee bit further. But the fact that obviously the second half was so poor and Rangers didn't win the game, as I'm sure we'll talk about, it probably just took a wee bit of gloss off it.
I tell you what I would say though, see second goal. I mean, I know it's not anywhere near the same level of kind of spectacular nature of the first, but the actual ability involved in his second goal was pretty significant as well. The touch that he has to get round Arojo to open himself up to poke it past Sinisala from 6 yards, it was real top draw stuff as well. So I don't know, guys. I don't know about you, but I kind of get the feeling that what we just witnessed there at the weekend almost just feels like an appetizer. And there wasn't the drama, there wasn't the big VAR call, or well, there was a big VAR call, but there's not really any hot controversy out of it. I kind of feel, when the lottery rolls over, I kind of think we're going to get some sort of madness and mayhem on Sunday in the Cup. I'm absolutely convinced it. I think that was just a pot boiler, and the real craziness is going to come this weekend.
And there was obviously the weekend ruckus.
Yeah, a bit of bad temper, a bit of bad blood in there, a few wee niggles.
You wonder whether that will carry on into Sunday as well. See, just just quickly on that Chermiti second goal, the deftness of that touch. Where has that been for Chermiti all season? When you think his general play, I even think about the chance.
I know he's looked clumsy at times, Scott. You're right.
The chance he had at Fir Park that we spoke about on here,
Aye.
where he just lashes at it, a real lack of composure. He's got time to just slot it down the side of the keeper, just lashes it straight at the goal. I mean, you think of as I say, the deftness of that touch, the calmness, the coolness, and that atmosphere for that second goal was unbelievable. I mean, we've said it before. I mean, he is an enigma. You just do not know what you're going to get from him week on week.
He's got 9 goals now for Rangers, and 8 of them have come against Celtic and Hearts. I mean, that's pretty remarkable, isn't it? But aye, amazing yesterday. Plenty of people getting in touch talking about goals. People saying Nakamura's. People saying Ugo Ekiog as well. That was some strike, but aye, who knows? In terms of the game itself, we've got plenty of comments coming in. If you want to get involved, please let us know your thoughts. Rangers easy okay. Says disappointed today. The second half. Today, it was yesterday, but there you go. Today was a real bad one from us. The first half was the best we played at Ibrox since the Leipzig game. Still in it, but anyone drop points, and I'll be singing along too. And I'll try and find the second half of this. Colin Chisholm and send it under 18s to Tynecastle for our game in the split to help Hearts over the line. I think the upshot from that, guys, is that he's disappointed.
And no wonder. Second half, nowhere near good enough, Daniel. I mean, I've just from a Rangers point of view, I've watched the highlights again a couple of times. The goals back, even things you don't notice at the game. The 2 goals. I mean, I don't know what you think, Jacko. Raskin at the back post for Tierney's goal does absolutely nothing. I mean, he's touch tight with Tierney. Try to defend the back post and just steps off him, allows Tierney a free header. And even the penalty instant, John Souttar.
I was going to say Souttar,
touch tight with Maida in the box, and for some reason, when the ball goes wide, he just allows Maida to drift off him into the middle of the 6-yard box. And you actually feel for Dujon Sterling, because he's trying to get across to cover his pal, basically, and help him.
You're right.
And it was, honestly, just from a Rangers point of view, and not taking anything away from Celtic upped their game in the second half. We talked about it post-match. The influence that Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney, whoever it was at half-time, the impact they had, the changes, the improvement in Celtic. It was night and day, first half to second half. So, of course, they deserve a lot of credit, but from Rangers' point of view, they'll look back at that second half performance, and particularly defending for the goals, and it was just so poor, really, really poor, and that's why they didn't deserve it in the game.
Physically, Scott, did Rangers look just about shot halfway through that second half? Energy levels and all that.
You're right. The energy seemed to be sapped.
That's nerves.
I think there's a wee bit of that. I think when you talk about mentality and fragility, I think when players sense that the opposition's getting on top of you and they got a goal quite early in the second half. I do think subconsciously you start
Could you
looking
feel
at
it? Could you feel it in the stadium? Was it coming from the stands? Was it transmitting nervous energy from the crowd? Because when it goes to 2-1, from where I was sitting, you knew. Well, I thought when it went 2-1, I thought the game had 2-2 written all over it as a final result. And I just wonder if that transmitted energy, perhaps a little bit negative, coming from the stands down onto the pitch.
I think there was definitely a kind of nervousness and anxiety as soon as Celtic got a real foothold in the game and started to control it and started to pass it and create chances. You could feel that the crowd knew something negative was going to happen. And as you say, when it goes 2-1, Rangers fans have just been in this movie so many times before. So, of course, the atmosphere dropped, the noise levels drop, the groans start, every misplaced pass. I mean, I seen a stat yesterday saying Rangers 65% possession in the second half, which in terms of 65 pass completion, no possession, pass completion. So you're talking like 35% of their passes going awry. So you can imagine the the reaction for the crowd at that. So no, there was an anxiety about it, and the players looked leggy. I mean, look, there's an argument to say they played with such intensity and such pace in the first half. Maybe it was just pure, fitness levels dropping. Getting into because they started the second half pretty well, first 5 minutes, and then it seemed to drop off. Obviously, Celtic had a massive part to play in that as well. But I think you're right. They looked a bit energyless, a bit leggy, and again, that probably then takes you back to, could Danny Arroyo have done anything different for the sidelines? Could he have changed any more to kind of stop that Celtic momentum? But when you look back at the second half, Rangers offered so little, and the contrast to the first half performance was really, really stark.
That's why I'm wondering. That's why I'm curious, because I don't know if is it mentality that is it a mentality issue? Is it a weakness in them that drained them of their energy because they're almost exhausted by it? The nervousness. I don't know, but what I do know is, and I'll come back to it, and I think I said it yesterday, was if I'm Jack Butland and I save the penalty, and then I follow up with a save from the rebound, I'm absolutely going through everybody inside that dressing room when I got off the pitch. Where were you? And I think I again, that comes back to mentality. If Rangers have got the right mentality at that moment, such a huge moment at the end of the match, there's got to be a blue shirt in there. There can't be. It's either Dyson Maeda, who has come from the edge of the box for a tap in, or as what happened, Hatate bundled it over the line. But there's not a blue shirt engaged there. And that, to me, I struggle with that, because a side that's really mentally strong in a situation like that, somebody has to get back there. And I think, again, Scott Dujon Stirling was probably the nearest Rangers player. I think Roman should get there, but Sterling comes from the other side of the penalty box, and he's the closest to it in the end up. That tells me there's something not quite right up there. Rangers players were asleep at a critical moment, and I don't know what you put that down to.
I think, seeing you talk about mentality, Jacko, the bottom line is, when you're 2-0 up in any game, and you've been so dominant in the first half, I think you need to question mentality if you can't see that game through. Irrespective of who the opposition is or how good they are. If you've got that 2-goal lead and you've been so dominant over your opponent, to give that away in such a manner, I don't know why Danny Rose seems so upped by the suggestion that there is a mentality issue. And I'm probably going to, I'm not making excuses for them, but the only thing I would say is this Rangers team is pretty young and pretty inexperienced. When you look at it, a lot of new signings, guys making their Old Firm debut at the weekend. I think Chermiti and Nadiri, what are they, 21, 22? Mikey Moore, 18. Chukwani, 22. Romans, 22. Fernandez, 24. it's a pretty young team now, so maybe that's part of it. But I said it yesterday, until you get over the line in big games, and until you get over the line in a season where you win a league or a cup or whatever, people are always going to question a team's mentality, and that's the challenge for Rangers. That's the challenge for these young players in terms of whether they're going to cut it here or no, is whether they can handle that, because Rangers as a team and the players have obviously changed over the years, but this has always been the question mark over this team. 2 years ago under Clement, they get to the top of the league and then they go and blow it. They draw it, or they get beat with Ross County, they draw at Dundee, they draw 3 each at home to Celtic, and suddenly the league's away for you. That's why people question whether they've got the mindset and the strength and mentality to go over the line. And until that changes, it's going to continue. And I'll tell you something, if they drop any more points in this run-in, or if they go and lose on Sunday and go out the cup, it's going to get cranked up even further on Danny Rowe and these players, irrespective of their inexperience or their age.
We mentioned Danny Rowe, and I think we can maybe hear from the Rangers manager and the Celtic manager, Martin O'Neill, as well. Let's have a listen to what they had to say after the game yesterday.
Today's result, I think, if you belong to Hearts, you'll think that's a really good result for them. But even so, we're not out of it. And but if the game had ended at half time and our performance in the first half, you'd have thought, well, we're a million miles off it. Now, by the end of the game, the manner in which we played, particularly here at Ibrox, playing away from home, 2-0 down, and fight back. So there's still plenty of heart and desire to try and retain the championship. Don't seem to be. It's been a really tough old struggle this season, and we just have to try and dig it out.
The way you're talking, Martin, is there a frustration that you didn't win the game because of the chances you had second half?
I think if you look at it, if you told me at half time we'll get out of this with something, it looked a long way off. But by the time that the game was over, I think, the very fact that on the penalty, when we finally scored the penalty, what was about the 6th attempt, I think, put it in the net, then had Taddy's racing out to put the ball on the halfway line. So there is a bit of frustration, but I think still to be in the title race here, it looked pretty daunting by half time.
Martin, you touched on your half time kind of team talk. Did you mention your birthday in there? The danger wrecking your birthday this afternoon?
To the birthday, no. We stayed overnight last night, and the hotel and the backroom staff dimmed the lights and put a birthday cake on. It's pathetic. Honestly, it was pathetic. Because the problem is, my birthday was not until after 12 o'clock, and I could have died between 7:30 and 12 o'clock. I got serious, and then I don't know who would have eaten the cake. Probably Fotheringham.
Just ask you about the goalkeeping situation, Martin. I think you said before the game that Casper was a wee bit under the weather, but would Seneschal have played in any event?
It's a good point, though. Don't pick my team for me. So I've had enough of that this week. That's crap. Right, okay, so he's not... The point I want to try and make is that Thursday, I thought Seneschal did really well in the game. Did really well. Sometimes, when you're changing goalkeepers around to play in certain competitions, then if somebody steps up and does really well in the game, but I hadn't any real decision to make today, in that sense. Maybe later on down the line.
Danny, is it a frustration for you that when Jack saves the penalty and saves the rebound, that Hatate gets a third go at it without having somebody else putting a challenger on?
I think as first you made a fantastic save, and then if you want, it's also a little bit lucky that it comes exactly in this point to the opponent back, not on the side or something like this, and make the second save, and then the third one is in. I I think all in all, it's tough to take today because when the equalizer comes so late in the game, especially then also with the pen, then yeah, you have to take it today. But my job is it to give them more that we can believe we can go again.
You spoke about Youssef's goal, and as impressive as it was, and even the second one as well. It's only a week since he had a big chance at Livingston. It doesn't take. Do you need to see the Youssef that you saw today and that you've seen in big games? You need to see that week in, week out from now if you're to stand a chance of winning this league.
I think it's not just Youssef. You played the first 15 minutes outstanding football from all of us. I think it was, for me, it's really a new benchmark. This should be our game. It should be our future. How we want to play, how we want to dominate teams that are around us, and we have to learn from this. It's more than just 45 minutes, 50 minutes. I think all the supporters, all of us, we can be disappointed, but we will not giving any chance for more distance.
John, just how hard is that one to take after the way that you performed, especially the first 45 minutes?
Yes, it's difficult to put into words how difficult one it is to take. I think first half I don't know I've been involved in such a one-sided Ibrox game. Whole firm I thought we were dominant off the ball, on the ball. I thought everyone was right on it. We played in the front foot, we were aggressive, we played in their half. Then we started second half of that first 5 minutes, and then after that we did the complete opposite. We didn't get tight enough. We didn't put them under the same pressure we were putting them under. We allowed them to play their game, get on the ball, playing between the lines, and then when you do that, there's going to be moments and chances in the game, and two of them fell to them.
Do you feel like the main beneficiary of today is Hearts, given their lead at the top?
Yeah, of course, 6 points. There's no two ways about that. There's the main beneficiaries then, and if I was them, I'd be feeling the exact same way. It was a long way to go. There's 9 games, everyone's got to play each other, so as much as it feels like they're 6 points now, but let's see 9 games, and but it's obviously we've got to be clean now. We can't afford any more slip ups. We've got to be right on.
I was going to say, there has been games, a lot of points spilled of late. Does it feel that some of those the consistency levels need to be tightened up in the running?
Yeah, I think today's the prime example of that.
Guys, we're going to hear from the Celtic perspective from Record Sports, Michael Garron and Ryan McDonald, who were on the Record Celtic podcast earlier on today. But just before we move on, I wanted to get your guys' take on Danny Rowe's behaviour before the game and after, talking about the Celtic team and the goalkeeper and kind of being a bit mischievous. Do you think that's come back to backfire on him a little bit?
Well, not judging by the way Rangers went about their business in the first half.
Certainly in the first half.
Look, I said to Dan, I was down at Celtic Park on Friday, and Martin O'Neill took the bait on it. There's no doubt about that. I think he was. I mean, you've got to bear in mind, Martin's very old school, and he knows what the parameters are in Glasgow. He knows what the unwritten rules are, and Danny Rowe was unfamiliar with it. I thought Martin was that when I say took the bait. I mean it's great to get, as we say in the newspaper world, a sort of war of words going into an Old Firm weekend. It builds it up, it cranks it up another notch. It just it's superb stuff for headlines and newspapers, online, whatever you want. But I thought Martin, he also dealt with it quite well. I thought there was a bit of humour there, and I thought he was on form again in the comments that we've just seen there. I think he's just a guy that's absolutely loving it, and I think he would have been quite happy if Danny Rowe says something like that, if it irritates him a little bit. You saw the comment there. I've had enough people trying to pick my team this week. It did get under his skin a little bit. But the first half performance didn't suggest that because Danny Rowe had said something that he got his comeuppance. On the contrary, Rangers dominated the first half.
He doubled down Rowe as well, because in his interview before the game on Sky, he said, "See, I was right about their goalkeeper." He wasn't letting it go. But
see, to be honest, Dan, I mean, I was at the Rangers press conference, obviously, and I felt a wee bit for Rowe in the sense that I didn't mind the couple of wee jibes. He responded to Luke McCowan's comment, which I thought was fine. He responded to that by saying, well, look, no, he's only untouchable because you're third in the league behind us. I thought that was fair enough. They've lost 7 games. Didn't have an issue with that. the goalkeeping thing, I thought, and I shouldn't be saying this as a journalist because we love cranking these things up, but he barely said nothing about the. I mean, he just said about the goal.
Said it'll be interesting.
Aye,
It'll be interesting to see who he picks. I mean, nothing that none of us were thinking whether it was going to be Schmeichel or Sinisalo. He was asked about what to expect from Celtic, and he just said it'll be interesting to see who the goalie is. So I felt from a wee bit in that sense that it get kind of cranked.
I thought that the silly bit, Scott, the silly bit from Danny Rowe, I felt was saying I was surprised that Celtic didn't go and try and win the tie.
100%.
I mean, Celtic were doing everything to try and win that tie.
But that's the kind of talking about unwritten rules. Those are the kind of things you don't do. I think when you're up against a manager like Martin O'Neill with experience, he's got 74 years old, what he's been through in the game, the teams he's had. No, I don't think you should question a team. He was basically saying Celtic weren't trying to win a game or weren't trying to win a tie. I think you're kind of you're almost you're version on crossing a line there a wee bit. So I don't know if Danny Rowe would maybe regret that comment. But the rest of it I thought was fine. I mean, we love that before a big game, and I think you need to find. I think if you're an old firm manager, I'm sure Jack will agree. You need to have a wee bit of that about you. No, you need to be able to kind of stand up and I'm
all for it. I'm all for it. And,
take one back.
you know, Martin O'Neill came away with a great line as well, Scott, because he was kind of being asked during the presser, how do you, you're turning 74 at the weekend and you're going back to Ibrox and it's going to be such a big game. How do you, will you be able to keep yourself calm? Will you be able to stay cool? He just says, well, that depends if Danny Rowe has another press conference before kickoff. So I love all that. It's great.
Yeah.
It's all the fun of the fair.
His handshake was a wee bit frosty.
I thought that.
Oh yeah, there's needle there. Don't be no doubt. And I think the same from like you saw, didn't you, Mikey Moore and Araujo having a bit of a go at each other on the way off the pitch, and that was, I think, because there was a few incidents where they came together during the match. I think there's a bit of needle in there. I think there'll be needle all over this cup game at the weekend, and that's why I've just got this feeling that. Not saying that was a damp squib a game, it was anything but a damp squib. But you just know the Old Firm, this rivalry, it has levels. I think we might hit a few levels on Sunday. I've just got this weird feeling.
Well, look in the comments, plenty of people writing in. This one here from Darren says, Rowe will come good once he's put his mark in Rangers. Let's face it, he's got Rangers back in the title race since he arrived. Chris says, Rowe had no class, can't even bring himself to say Celtic. Just shows no class. Big Rab says, unprofessional to say anything about another professional player. Rowe was out of order. That should be called out. AGSC Tech says, Rowe's doing a Clement. He seems irritable and irritated. He needs a streetwise Scot to advise him. And just finally, our old friend Alistair Ramage from the Rangers point of view says, Tavernier been dropped. Made my weekend. So thanks for getting in touch, Alistair. From a Celtic point of view, guys, I caught up with Record Sports Michael Gannon and Ryan McDonald earlier on today in the Record Celtic podcast, and I think we can hear a little bit of their take on the game. I think had they lost yesterday, I would have probably think title race over for Celtic, but I think they're still in it.
Just about. I mean, there's still a lot needs to happen for Celtic to win this league this year. Maybe too much. I don't think it was as much a personnel problem at the start on Sunday as a tactical problem, and it's a tactical problem. I think Celtic are now. I mentioned it in the Hotline Live last night. They're a team that's caught between three different managerial styles and ways of playing, and they've lost any sort of semblance of what they're actually about. And this, I mean, sorry to get the mention, whether you call it getting the ball forward early or being direct or you want to call it, it's not the way Celtic have played for a long, long time. They put Adamu in there, who's a big lump of a guy, and the temptation is when you're under pressure or you're getting pressed, hit him. Yeah. Unfortunately, it didn't win a single ball at any point in time in the game. And any time he even got in the way of a ball that was long, the second ball wasn't getting snapped up because Oxlade-Chamberlain and Negrin are not guys that are going to go and win second balls. They're just not in their game. Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think we mentioned as well, that latest in a long line of big name players who have been completely swamped by the fixture, taken aback by the pace, the ferocity, intensity, and just didn't handle it. get the ball away far too many times and had to be sacrificed. It wasn't. I'd understand why they played him, a bit of composure on the ball, but you don't get time in the ball in this fixture, and he paid the price for it. So Celtic were malfunctioning all over the pitch in the first half. I mean, they were trying to get the ball up early. It wasn't sticking. And they were playing diagonal at Dyson Maeda, who couldn't control a bag of cement. Yang was completely ineffective. Yang was actually, people say he's anonymous, but that made him actually, it was actually worse because he wasn't helping out his fullback, who was getting a real tough time. Romans was given the first half was a real problem. Rangers are a long ball team, right? They were launching balls up to the centre of the defence, and then the 4 or 5 guys running about it, picking up scraps. Celtic couldn't cope. When they changed it at half time, I don't know what happened at half time. I think something happened at half time when they had a real conversation saying, why are we playing this way? And right at the Rangers' hands, playing right at the Rangers' hands, and we're getting thumped. It was almost like it's going to go back to kind of what their strengths are. Try to pass a ball, try to build, get some wide play, get players forward, have combination play, some kind of passing game. And it got a bit of joy. Rangers, in fairness, I thought they wet the bed. I thought they played into Celtic hands as well by changing their formation in a kind of defensive way to see it out, invited pressure, and Celtic grabbed the chance and bossed the second half. But it's not. I mean, getting a point was a decent return after that horrendous first half. I mean, that was as bad a first half I've seen Celtic play against Rangers. I mean, the 3-0 game last season was a bit of a kind of freak given the season Celtic were having. But you're going back. I think you're going back decades for a performance that bad. I mean, it was absolutely epically bad the first half.
I think you were right, Ryan. I perfectly expected it to be 4 or 5 in the second. Well, honestly, I really did.
They're fortunate that the Rangers have got their own failings, and it could have been game over by half time. And then straight after half time, they started badly as well. By the way, it could have been 48 minutes. But they got a foothold and got back into the game, and fair play. They showed that kind of spirit. What you think is, I hope that for their sake, they think that they realise that they need to play their game to their strengths. Happened to Tynecastle as well, by the way, getting dragged into this long ball game and getting destroyed. It's happened at various times against teams like Kilmarnock and others, getting dragged into a game that's not theirs and getting destroyed at it. If you make it a second ball game against Celtic, Celtic will lose because they can't win second balls.
Yeah. It's not built for it, eh?
No.
I think for me, the real problem Martin Neal's got is he doesn't know his best starting 11. And we get to this stage of the season, you really need to be able to hang your hat on certain players. You know, Sinisalo or Schmeichel in goals, you know, so what we hear is Schmeichel was ill, and that made Neal's decision quite kind of made it easy for him. But I think Sinisalo's got to start between the sticks. I think again he didn't do anything wrong on Sunday. Thought he was fairly solid.
Sorry to jump in, Ryan, but would you now both you guys say that Sinisalo's the number 1 now?
I think he's got to be.
Aye.
He's got the gloves. You got to stick with him. He didn't actually, weirdly, didn't have that much to do.
I know.
And obviously, I've seen a lot of people giving, or during the game anyway, giving Dane Murray stick. But I tell you what, he responded well.
I was going to bring him up, Ryan, because my heart was honestly breaking for the guy when obviously he made the mistake for Rangers' second goal, and you can see in that picture if you're watching it. He was just, you could see it in his face. But I thought he was really, really good after that. I thought he won every header. I thought he was composed. And I think he came through it. So many other people would have crumbled after that.
That's it, 100%. I think especially, you know, a young guy, I know we keep saying he's young guy, he's 22. He doesn't really have much senior football experience. And to make a mistake of that magnitude in that fixture, in that environment, you know, a lot of people, like you say, would have crumbled. And I wouldn't have been surprised if Martin Neal had maybe taken him out the firing line at half time.
Crossed my mind as well.
I thought he did respond extremely well. You talk about the aerial duels that he won as well. I thought he was absolutely dominant in there against 2 right handfuls in Chermiti and Naderi. So, you know, fair play to him. I think he can roll him back. I mean, the thing is, there will be a narrative set around this lad now. He's made mistakes at Villa Park, Tynecastle, and now Ibrox. So
he has got a ricket in him.
So there is that kind of in the background. But the thing is, he's maybe got he's definitely got the next 2 league games anyway to take his claim and try and change the narrative and win people over. But I thought his second half performance, particularly the way he responded, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. But listen, it's a fickle game because had Celtic lost that game, I'm not so sure Dane Murray would be getting any kind of plaudits. So he's fortunate in the sense that Celtic clawed it back to draw 2-2. But yeah, in general, I thought he deserves a shout out for the way he responded in that environment.
Yeah, I think Rangers helped him as well the second half by going one up top, by taking the second striker off.
Yeah,
it helped him a wee bit as well because it wasn't man for man and dealing with that, and then dealing with the fallout from the kind of the scraps. So I thought that helped him, but there's no doubt he's got a ricket in him. I mean, usually won a game, and not all the time he gets punished for it, but he's got to get ironed out his game because Celtic at a point in the season now they can't afford to be chucking in goals. So if he is going to play, he's going to have to be switched on. He's got a bit about him, but he has got that ability to have a moment now and again. I think Celtic in general, I think the bigger issues are further up the field. I think the problem they've got is they scored 2 goals at Ibrox yesterday, but again, penalty kick in the last minute to get a draw. Kieran Tierney popped up a goal.
That was a great goal, by the way. I thought Negren's cross and the header was brilliant.
But what is happening with Celtic strike force? What is going on? I mean, Chanchara, you think is going to start the game, doesn't start, doesn't go off the bench.
Sorry to jump in, Mick, but I thought that was really peculiar that he didn't. Celtic searching for a second goal, and he doesn't even go off the bench.
Well, he's only scored 1 goal in 8 games anyway, so he's not been prolific to start with. So he needs to get that up. Adamu, who played 50 minutes in Stuttgart, I thought he was okay. Stuttgart, I don't know what you think, Ryan. I thought he was all right. I mean, he was a bit of a hand.
In the stadium. I thought it was a handful. He made obviously a neat assist for Luke McCowan in the opening seconds. I thought he was a handful. That's the best way I'd describe him. Is he literally the type of striker that's going to score 10 goals between now and the end of the season? No.
Well, there was a Norwegian, and I wish I could remember the account on Twitter, but they were saying, watching the game, a Norwegian football account saying, that's not Adamu. Adamu's not like a target man. He's not there to hold the ball. That's not what he does. Like,
no, but this happened to Celtic at Hearts. As soon as he played Chankara in his first game, it was almost like some Celtic players think, oh, he's 6'3", so we'll just have to get out of the park. It's almost like a panic stations thing. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to work out. Is this a game plan? Or is it a default when defenders are panicking under pressure, they just launch it to the big guy because he's there? But when you don't have that option with Dyson Maeda, changes the way that you play. Listen, it's easy playing 2-0 down as well, by the way, so you've got to take that into account. But Adamu's not a target man, clearly. I mean, he wasn't at the weekend. I'm not sure what he is yet, because he plays 45. He goes off the bench, gets a winner, equalising against Dundee, plays 45 minutes the next week, is hopeless, gets hooked. Goes missing for a couple of weeks, because back in against Stuttgart does okay. Then he plays again, gets hooked again. Chankara starts, looks like the main man, then he gets dropped. Nowhere to be seen. And he actually flicks off the bench in Germany, then he doesn't even get his tracksuit on at the weekend. These are Celtic's 3 strikers, and they're back to using Dyson Maeda up front. So back to where they were before. The January window is now looking like another waste time for Celtic, let's be honest. Benjamin Arthur can't get a game ahead of Dane Murray. Mavuku, I mean, where he's gone, I mean, send out a search party for him.
Is he injured, Mavuka? No. Just no good enough to be in the team.
He was in training during the week, so he's definitely.
Yeah. Aye, just trying to settle in Scotland, but he's only on a 4-month loan deal. So Celtic are going to need to have some kind of. And listen, Dyson Maeda, I thought, helped on Sunday being up front. Still missed probably 2 big chances. I mean, they had
sorry, mate. Sorry.
Penalty kicks with the back of the net. Penalty kicks with the back of the net before that. So you can't rely on Dyson Maeda, because Dyson Maeda is not Dyson Maeda last year. Every touch turned to goal.
Sorry, I realise I keep cutting everyone off. Sorry, I don't mean it's a slight delay in mind. But I was going to just say, Mick, Ryan, I thought you hit the nail on the head when you said, look, the whole reason why Rio Hatate wasn't starting is because we don't know if we can rely on him anymore. And the same with Maeda up front. Like, I agree, Mick. I thought he actually gave Rangers problems, caused a bit of a calamity in the box, obviously won the penalty. But I've got no idea now if he starts what Maeda's going to turn up, and Martin O'Neill must be the same.
I think the issue is, again, I've said it. One, Martin O'Neill doesn't know his best starting lineup, and there's 10 league games to go now. And 2, I don't think there's many players that he can trust, because, like we said, how many players are you going to get a 90-minute performance out of? I think you're looking at Cal McGregor, Kieran Tierney, if he can last that long. Maybe Julian Araujo. Is there anybody else you can really trust? I'm not so sure. So this is the biggest problem.
The Record Celtic podcast there, guys. I was cringing. I hate seeing myself back. Are you like that, Keith? Or are you all right watching yourself back?
That's something I never do, Dan.
I'm just laughing at Mick saying Celtic have sent out a search party for him.
One of the comments there as well, in the comments, John says Mavuka's in a room share with Balikwisha. It's probably a fair comment.
But do you know what? It's a serious point. It does kind of give credence to all the criticism that the Celtic board have had to endure, because these transfer windows have been shambolic in nature. And, Balikwisha is a perfect example there. Another one. This string of misfits. And if you look at the weekend, I'm not going to be, I don't think the jury's made a verdict yet on Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's obviously a quality player. The question is he able to play a major part for Celtic? Well, they go into a game that, an absolute crucial game against Rangers at Ibrox, and he makes it to half-time, hooked. Junior Adamu makes it to half-time, hooked. Benjamin Arthur, not as Mick said there, can't get a game in front of Dane Murray. You start to think, what was the point? Joel Mavuka, he's not. I don't know if he was in the city or not. Never mind at Ibrox. And Javanchira, again, another great point by the guys. These are the guys that Celtic board said, well, there you go, we've saved the day. We've brought in players, but they were players, and that was always going to be the question: are they going to make a difference? Are they going to contribute? Are they going to be an increase in quality? And the evidence in front of you that's staring you right in the face says absolutely not. And that is baffling. And the one signing that Celtic did make, Julian Arojo, who has been a contributor, that was Wilfred Nonsi that set that one up. So it points to a completely fractured setup. And again, keep coming back to it. The fact is that Martin O'Neill has come in. He's trying to ride to the rescue. He's holding it together. He's the glue that's holding the whole thing together right now. And there's still this chance that Martin O'Neill, at the age of 74, ends this season with a League and Cup double. Despite all that. And it's ridiculous that the board didn't give him more of a helping hand in the January window, because quite plainly what they've delivered is just not working. And you wonder, when none of those players were there in the second half, did Celtic revert to something more like Brendan Rodgers? Was that the difference? That they kind of flipped the switch and went back to what they knew, playing football, as the guy said, through the lines? Because there was none of these players taking part. Obviously, Tanecki comes off the bench in the second half and helped make a difference. But I don't know. It's so wrong. I mean, I think they say the kind of art to recruiting football players is you're not going to get 100% hit rate. It's just not going to happen. But you need to try and make it at least 60, 70% success rate. And Celtic's numbers, when you look at the success rate percentage in the transfer market, are pretty horrendous.
Celtic's starting 11 yesterday cost £6.5 million. See, when you think of that's pretty incredible. I mean, with free transfers and loan players, £6.5 million. And Chermiti, we know, cost £8 million. I mean, just if you don't invest in your team, get what you pay for, I guess. And see, talking about this, guys, for the last 40 odd minutes about Celtic and Rangers, this comment kind of jumps out to me. It says, I struggle to see either of those two win the league after yesterday. Rangers draw too many games. Celtic have an awful record against top 5, 2 wins and 11. It's Hearts' title to lose. And Darren says, Hearts win their next 4. I believe the league is in the bag. It's very possible. And David says, Wednesday night's huge for Celtic. And when the title fight's on, if anything else, the game's a bogey. And see, just very quickly, if we look at the league table, Keith, we've talked about 80 points as being a sort of magic number this season. Hearts are 5 wins and 2 draws away from that. 5 wins potentially from the title.
The next run of game for Hearts, I think, is really critical. And I see no reason. Right, I'm going to say that the final game before the split is Motherwell at Tynecastle. And that's awkward. There's no two ways about it. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's a share of the points in that game. But I think Hearts will get 4 games going into that all look winnable. Or was it 4, including the Aberdeen, the visit from Aberdeen at the weekend? yeah, I think this is a real... Hearts can put the foot to the floor here. And this is what we were talking about yesterday. They've got this opportunity. They can't take it for granted that the opportunity is going to come around in the same manner next season or the season after that. Or this is it. It's right in front of them. They just need to reach out. And I think this next run of games going into the split, I think they could just about get there before the split. And then who knows what's coming after the split. Because it is going to be, an incredible run of fixtures after the split. So if they can put some points on the board, some serious points on the board before that Motherwell game, yeah, I think they're in a really strong position.
They've got Killing away, Dundee at home, Livy away, and then, as you say, Motherwell at home. They're the 4 games. But Scott, as I just said, look, I would back them to win 3 of them, and then the Motherwell game, like he says, who knows? But
that's okay. If they win 3 and take a point off the Motherwell, then that's good.
They're right on the verge if they do that.
And even wee things like, you wonder if it's written in the stars. I mean, before the weekend games, when I was looking at the fixtures, I'm thinking, well, Kelly away will be tough. No, Neil McInnes kind of got them up again. They'd looked decent the last couple of games. What happens on Saturday? Kelly go and get battered 5-1 at Falkirk, and suddenly you think, well, they're back down again. They're fighting, back in that kind of relegation battle again, and Hearts will fancy going there. Now they've got 2 weeks to prepare. 2 weeks to prepare for that game. And Celtic have got a trip to Pittodrie and a Scottish Cup tie with Rangers in that time. So I definitely think it's Hearts to lose. It's incredible that we're even saying that. But that's where we're at. As Jacko says, next 4 games are crucial. You wouldn't be surprised if they won them all, let's be honest. The Motherwell game, of course, will be tough, but you wouldn't put it past them the way they're ticking these games off. So what an opportunity for them. I mean, it's mad. It's funny, we were listening to that John Souttar interview post-match there, the wee clip. I'm thinking, God, imagine when John Souttar left Hearts for Rangers, if he'd have said, Hearts will win the league before Rangers Day. I mean, he'd have surely, I thought you were off your head, but looks as if it might happen.
And you can just see there, before we wrap up, guys, McInnes...
Oh, here, before we do, did you see the Record Sports' very own Chris Sutton?
This is what I'm bringing up.
Yeah, he reckons that the biggest threat to Hearts winning the title is Derek McInnes.
I did see that.
See that?
You see on your screen, McInnes is loving the pressure, and so the players. Just watch Hearts social media. I know he get involved. I think it was Dennis Geiger was the Aberdeen player at the weekend. A few to and fro, but I mean it's hardly.
I find that really strange, and especially when you take it in this context. Chris Sutton made his name as a Celtic player playing under Martin O'Neill. And Martin O'Neill, if memory serves, was prone to becoming emotionally involved from time to time. So I don't know if Chris is trying to play mind games or whatever there, but yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, and I think actually, I think I'd probably say the opposite to what Chris is saying in terms. I think if you're a Hearts player and you see that passion,
you're all in the battle. Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
You see him running down the touchline, with a ball boy in the last minute goal. You see him, goading the Hibs fans at the end of the derby and stuff. I mean, if I'm a player, I'm thinking we're with this guy. This guy's all in, and this is it. This is our time. I think that's what I would think if I was a player. So I'd be amazed if any Hearts players are looking at Derek McInnes and how he's acting and thinking, oh, no, this isn't good. This is not what we need. Do you know what I mean? So,
but that's my point, Scott. That Martin O'Neill deliberately engineered that exact same sort of relationship with these players, and when first time around at Celtic, that was part of the Martin O'Neill magic, and it's exactly what Derek McInnes is instilling at Tynecastle as well. Strange.
Yeah, guys, that my predictions are always right on point. I think there's going to be a scenario where Hibs hand the league to Hearts. There you go. Just take it to the bank, just letting you know. Do with it what you will. I think for for tonight's Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. I think that's us. Thank you so much for all the comments as ever. We really appreciate it, and we'll be back to do it all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow. We hope you can join us then. Scott, Keith, it's always an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
See you tomorrow, Dan.
Thank you very much for watching at home. Hope you can join us tomorrow. Cheers.